Right, guys, welcome back to the channel, and massive shout out to Games Workshop for sending over the new Disciples of Tzeentch Battletome for us to review. And today I'm actually joined by Grant. Grant, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me again.
Not a problem. Now, Grant is probably the expert, or well, I say expert. You know a lot more about
overselling, maybe, but
you know a lot more about competitive Sigmar, and you probably played against more armies than what I have. So, me and Grant had a good thumb through this, and there's a number of changes. See what I did there?
Oh, maybe 9 changes. Do the changes divide by 9? We should really figure that out.
We should. The horrors have already been featured on the community page, but I think horrors are going to be horrible.
Yeah, I mean, they're not as bad as I'd feared, but yeah, they're going to be.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though.
Thematic.
Let us start with probably the most important thing that people want to know: points. So horrors have gone up to 200, but there's a side note that if the unit contains no pink horrors, they are 100 points. If it contains no pink or blue horrors, they are 60 points. But their war scrolls did change, and we'll cover that a little bit later. Acolytes are up to 100. Zangors are 180 still, but they lost their maximum discount bonus. Yeah, still a maximum of 30, but you don't get the discount anymore. Blue Scribes went down to 120. The Changeling went down to 120. The Curseling Eye of Tzeentch and Fate Master stayed the same at 160 and 120. Gaunt Summoner went up to 240, which is nuts because nothing changed on his war scroll.
Yeah, it seems strange. I can't figure it out.
Herald of Tzeentch dropped to 120. Herald of Tzeentch on a Burning Chariot dropped to 140, which is less than a Flamer on Chariot, which is still at 150. The Magister is 100. Herald of Tzeentch on Disc is 130. Ogroid Thermitage dropped to 160, and the Zangor Shaman dropped to 150. Kairos Fate Weaver did go up to 400, but he got a little change. And the Exalted Flavors of Tzeentch went up to 100. Flamers of Tzeentch went down to 120. Screamers went down to 80. And the Zangor Enlightened on Disc went up 20 points to 180 as well. And then, of course, we've got the War Scroll Battalions. Notable mention to the Change Host, which is 180 points. Still, but it changed.
It's still good.
It's easier to play.
Oh, yes. Infinitely easier to play.
So, again, a lot of the Allegiance abilities have been shown off on the Warhammer community page. Destiny Dice has been clarified massively. It gives you a specific list of rolls that you can use it on. There is no Mortal Wound mention in there, so you can't use it on Mortal Wounds still. But it also states that you cannot have more than 9, Grant.
Yeah.
So people who are stockpiling them and getting more and more and more, you can't have more than 9.
No. And there's various ways to bring them back once you spend them in things like that, which is good. But maxing out at 9, I think, is fair. It's such a strong mechanic, and it's such a great mechanic that it needs some sort of balancing a bit.
Yeah. You've got the Locus of Change, which is a new ability, I believe, which is subtract 1 from hit rolls that target Tzeentch demons whilst they're wholly within 12. And obviously, if you're a death player, you know how hard and critical it is to stay wholly within 12. 12 is not a big range.
No, it's not as big as you think it is.
No. Nope.
It sounds big, but until you start to actually keep everything, as you have to move everything. And
especially if you charge out of range as well, it's massive.
Yeah.
So change covens. We've got 6 different covens, which is nice because it's the first time Tzeentch have had access to covens or different traits like this. But Grant pointed out actually that you're not locked into one of them, so you don't have to take them if you don't want.
No, it's not. I think Slaanesh is the only one that's locked them in. Oh, cities. It's Age of Sigmar technically as well, because you're playing as a city. But yeah, no, you've got the freedom. But I think some of them are pretty good.
Yep. So summoning points. So each time a spell is successfully cast, you get a fate point. And I don't know what the old costs were to summon, but you can have 3 Screamers for 10, 10 Brimstones or 10 Blues for 10. You can have a Fluxmaster, which is a Herald of Tzeentch on disc, an Exalted Flamer or a Change Caster for 12. You can take 3 Flamers, 1 Burning Chariot for 18, 10 Pink Horrors for 20. You can take Fate Skimmer, which is a Herald of Tzeentch on a Burning Chariot for 24 points, and a Lord of Change for 30.
Yeah.
Now, 30 might seem a lot, but realistically, if you're casting, 6, 7, 8 spells?
Probably, yeah.
And then your opponent's probably got 3 or 4, if they're not that magic heavy. You could probably get a Lord of Change by turn 3.
Yeah, I mean, potentially a lot quicker with one of the covens.
Absolutely. The other thing that is nice and a little bit nifty is the Gifts of Worship. So at the start of your hero phase, you can say that your army is going to intend to complete one of the following agendas before the start of your next hero phase. You've got to tell your opponent which agenda that you intend to complete, and you cannot complete the same agenda more than once per battle. And I've had a quick look through these, and they're not the easiest of things to get off. You do have to sort of dedicate to them a little bit, but it's going to help out the demons, quite a lot. And my favourite one out of them, I don't know which one is your favourite, Grant, but this one, Mass Conjuration. Pick a friendly Tzeentch wizard, and if you cast 2 spells or endless spells in that hero phase with an unmodified casting roll of a 9 or more, and neither spell or endless spell is unbound, the agenda is complete. It gives you +1 to cast. With the Lord of Change, I know it says unmodified 9, but technically, if you roll a 5, you've got that off, because you turn the dice to a 5.
Yeah, it's not a modify.
Exactly. So that one on a Lord of Change or Fate Weaver, I think is pretty reliable.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some of the ones in there, like +1 save and things like that.
I mean, 9-fold dismantlement on Enlightened on disc.
Yeah. So
destroy enemy unit with 10 models, and they get +1 to hit. They're going to do that. That's not going to be a hard one for them to get them +1 to hit.
No.
And even the same with the Reckless Abandon, to try and get them +1 attacks. She's going to make a 9-inch charge.
Yeah.
It's not a guarantee, but it's you're going to be doing long charges anyway with them potentially. So
if you're summoning stuff as well, the thing with Reckless Abandon, you nominate it at the start of your charge phase. You have to tell your opponent that you're going to do it in your hero phase, but then at the start of your charge phase, you go, right, I'm going to pick that unit that I've just summoned.
Yeah.
And of course, you can use your Destiny dice for that.
True. Yes.
So you can, almost guarantee yourself the 9.
Yeah.
I mean, who's not going to love summoning some horrors? Give them that, and then of course an extra attack in combat is going to be pretty decent. So I think there's a lot of good combos going to come from this.
Tides of Anarchy is quite nice as well. You can, if you complete it, your models count as 2 models.
Yeah. Very, very good. Very good. So, moving on from that, there is a whole host of command traits. There's loads. I'm not going to go over them, because obviously the specific ones that we'll visit are for each of the hosts. Artifacts of Power, you've got tons of them again. So again, I'm not going to go over all of those. However, the spell laws. Grant shuddered with a couple of these, didn't you?
There's a couple standouts for sure.
Yeah. Which one was your favourite?
I think it's got to be Arcane Suggestion.
Yeah. It's a casting value of an 8. It's
just so good.
Casting value
and the thing is, I think you always forget when you say casting value of 8, you think it sounds like a lot, until you remember the Lord of Change's ability to just, as long as you roll 1 dice high enough, you're fine.
But then on top of that, of course, you can just go Destiny Dice. There's a 4. Oh, look, the other one, it changes to a 4.
Exactly, yeah. So some of these sound high, and then once you start to think of it, you think, oh, that's actually pretty likely to get that off.
Yeah. But even if you roll a 5, if you take the agenda and then go, oh, there's a 5, I turn that to a 10, you've instantly cast that, and then, oh, look, I've got one of me 2 that's over a 9+. So with Arcane Suggestion, you pick one of 3 things to do to the target unit.
The first one is the worst one.
Yeah, D3 mortal wounds.
And it's still D3 mortal wounds, and it's still the worst option. It's all 3 options. Yeah, so after that, we've got subtract 1 from hit and wound rolls.
Hit and wound rolls.
And after that, subtract 1 for save rolls.
It's a shame you can't cast that spell twice.
Really? I'm kind of annoyed they can cast it once.
yeah. I mean, the -1 to hit and wound is massive.
I mean, even just -1 to wound, because there's so few ways to buff wounds. Taking anything to your wound rolls is always hard.
I mean, subtract 1 from save rolls is fine, but there's ways that you can increase your rend. So, do you know what I mean? The -1 to hit and wound is it's brutally good.
Yeah.
It's brutally good. You've got Glimpse the Future as well, which is roll a dice and add it to your Destiny pool. You've got Shield of Fate, which gives you certain rerolls depending on how many Destiny dice you've got in your pool. And I'm trying to think which other ones were pretty cool. Bolt of Tzeentch was alright.
Yeah.
Casting value of 7, and they suffer D6 mortal wounds. 7.
Yeah. Again,
you've only got to roll a 4 for a Lord of Change to do that. That's brutal. Bolt of Tzeentch is in both spell laws, but it specifically states you can only cast it once despite it being in both.
And Treason of Tzeentch from the Lore of Change was the other one that we were a fan of.
Casting value of 5, right? Which is very low. If successfully cast, pick one enemy unit within 18 of the caster and visible to them. Roll a number of dice equal to a number of models in that unit, and for each 6, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. Great. A lot of armies have a similar ability to that, but I just want to point out it's casting value 5, and it says if any models from that unit are slain by this spell, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by that unit until your next hero phase.
I mean, see, you cast those 2 spells, and you've got a unit that's taking a few mortal wounds, -2 to hit and -1 to wound.
That's horrendous.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to cast them. Actually, I've just worked out, I don't think the demon can cast Arcane Suggestion, because it's for Arcanite Wizards and Mortal Wizards only.
Yes, you'd have to use your Destiny dice to get that one off, really.
Yeah.
But you've got 9 of them, so...
It's such a good... Them 2 are such a good spell.
Yeah.
This one as well, Fold Reality, casting value of 7, pick a Tzeentch demon unit and roll a dice. On a 2+, you can return a number of models to that unit equal to your dice roll. But if you roll a 1, the unit's destroyed. Destiny dice, anyone?
Again, it is... You do want the Destiny dice for a lot of these, and there's obviously ways to get them back, but I think that's what's great about it. It ties into their theme so strongly.
Absolutely. So that's the spells. We'll move on to each of the hosts, and there's one in particular that you liked a lot, though, isn't there?
There is. I'm just going to make sure I've got the right name. Yep, the Eternal Conflagration I really like.
Which is this first one here.
Yeah.
Improve the rend characteristic of friendly Eternal Conflagration units Warp Flame, Billowing Warp Flame, and Magic Flames missiles by 1.
Yeah. Now, I've played against a Flamer Heavy army once, and just the amount of constant D3 damage that was coming your way, it's surprising just how quickly they're taking stuff off the table. Now, if I can put a -1 rend on that, I think a Flamer army can definitely do well.
Yeah, absolutely.
especially if you cast in the spell for a minus one on their save. Now you've effectively got -2 rend.
Yeah, and the command trait, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made with missile weapons that target Eternal Conflagration demon units wholly within 12 of their general. That stacks with the Locus of Change.
Yep.
So -2 to hit from shooting.
So yeah, if you take lots of 3-man units, you can easily get a couple within 12 inches of your general.
Yeah.
You know, it's
not
I
bad.
think it's a good one. I think it's a good one.
And the artifact of power, if you take a wound, or roll a dice, and on a 3+, you bounce a mortal wound back to the unit. It fits with the Tzeentch theme.
Yeah, yeah.
So the next one we've got is...
You don't actually bounce it back.
The attacking unit suffers 1 mortal wound on a 3+.
But you still take the mortal wound.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, you still take it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's not a...
It's not an ignore and physically bounce it back. They do a wound as well. The host of... I can't even say that.
The host duplicitous.
There you go. Enemy units within 3 of hosts them cannot retreat. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's it could be pretty good. I mean, if you can stop somebody from getting away from your combat, it makes the horrors that are great tar pits even better tar pits.
Yeah, which we haven't even looked at the horrors yet. And of course,
no.
You're casting a spell to replenish the squad, and then on top of that, you can. There was a way to make them count as 2 models from a different spell. Yeah. That's if you want an objective camp with a horde of bodies, this is the one to go with.
Yeah, definitely.
So the next one we've got is the Host Carnem. Once per turn, in the 1st, 3rd, and 5th battle rounds, when friendly Host Carnem wizard attempts to unbind, the spell is automatically unbound. So you basically get 3 auto dispels throughout the game.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, people are, you're paying 140 points for a Knight Incanter just to get the auto unbind a lot of times.
For Stormcast, yeah.
Yeah. So to get, or a lot of Order armies ally them in as well for that reason, to get these auto unbinds. Yeah, you're limited when you can use it to the 1st, 3rd, and 5th battle rounds, but, it's still, if your opponent gets off a big spell you don't want in those rounds, you've always got that in your bag to unbind it. Plus, with your Destiny dice, it could be a nice wee anti-magic ability.
Yeah. There's a command ability as well that I think is actually quite useful. You can use this command ability in your hero phase. Pick a friendly Host Carnem Screamers of Tzeentch unit wholly within 12. Until your next hero phase, add 1 to save rolls for attacks that target the unit. In addition, improve the rend characteristic of that unit's lamprey bites by 1.
Nice.
So that's not bad. I think that's pretty decent. And of course, the command trait. I like this one. After armies have been set up, but before the first battle round, D3 friendly Host Carnem units that can fly can move up to 6 inches.
Nice.
Any pre-game move that you can do is good. And once per battle, you can add 1 unit of 6 Screamers of Tzeentch to your army.
Yep. Just 6 free models is never a bad thing.
No, and especially when you use the command ability to do that.
Gives them the rend.
And if you've already lost your Screamers from earlier in the game through the command trait and pushing them forward. The next one we've got is the Cult of Transient Form.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I like this one.
It's got a nice theme, but I don't know if it's.
If you like running Zangors, this is the one for you. Roll a dice each time.
You need to run acolytes as well.
Yeah.
Because you need the acolytes to get hurt to get the extra Zangor. It's a nice kind of theme of the acolytes becoming Zangors, possibly something like that. But I think there's better options.
Oh, absolutely! This is definitely one of the weaker ones in the book. I think the Host Carnem is pretty good. I think the Eternal Conflagration is good as well. However, before we get to the last one, we've got the second from last, the Pyro Cult. Add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made with Sorcerer's Bolts. by friendly Pyro, Cult, Kyric, Acolyte units. In addition, at the end of your shooting phase, roll a dice each time an enemy unit suffered any wounds is inflicted by the bolts. And on a 5+, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. So not only are the bolts, actually I think the bolts were okay in the updated War Scroll, you can do an additional D3 mortal wounds.
I think if you wanted to run Acolyte, I would probably go this one over the last one we spoke about. I think this is better for the Acolyte heavy build.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last one.
There's
This is the one that you're going to see, and people are going to run out, and people are going to buy for Lord of Change. They're going to.
Yeah.
And the reason that they're going to do that is because in this army, you can only use your fate points to summon Lord of Change. However, the first one only costs 9 points. The second one costs 18 points, and then the last one is 30. You're going to be on your 18 by the time you get to turn 2 or 3.
Yeah, you're realistically probably going to get them by turn 2. Because you're probably going to have 9 by turn 1 and get another Lord of Change turn 1.
Yeah.
Especially if you have the ability to choose and make your opponent go first. Let him get his spells off if he's got any.
And then just
bump you up your number, and then just
choose not to deny.
Choose not to unbind them. Yep. The thing about this is you are limited because you can only summon the Lords of Change. So you can't summon little units to grab objectives. So there is a downside to this. But it's still going to be a thing. We're still going to see it. And however, when you summon them in, of course, you won't get to choose a spell for them. So they're stuck with just their War Scroll spells.
Right.
So they're not maybe as bad, but still 4 Lords of Change is still a lot to deal with on the table.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But look at this command ability. Pick a friendly Guild of Summoners Wizard wholly within 9 of a hero and get +1 to cast.
Yeah.
That's... Why would you not?
Exactly.
The command trait. If the general is part of your army on the battlefield, at the start of your hero phase, roll a dice, and on a 4+, you get an extra command point.
Which you're going to spend to get +1 to cast. So yeah.
And you can do that with two. And you can do that with 2 different wizards.
Yeah.
So fantastic. And the artifact: don't take battle shock tests for friendly guild summoner units whilst they're wholly within 12 of the bearer. You're not going to have that. Do you know what I mean? You might have some horrors or something, but
it's not.
It's not great. But
no. But I mean, I guess you're already going to be low model because you can't summon in. So is maybe going to help some of units stick around a little bit longer because because you can't bring in like those 10-man units of horrors to grab an objective. You're stuck with whatever you brought at the start of the game. So at least you know those units aren't going to run to battle shock if they're within the 12 inches. So it's not terrible.
No. Moving on from that though, we'll have a quick look at some of the battalions. And I say some because the main one that we're going to look at is the Change Horse. Where's it gone? Have I gone past?
It's second page of battalions.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
The Change Horse. So it's a Lord of Change and then 8 units chosen from obviously the list of demons. And it's a lot easier to play. It's a lot better worded than what it was. And at the start of your hero phase, if the Lord of Change from this battalion is your general and on the battlefield, you can pick 2 other friendly units, so he's not included, from this battalion and remove them from the battlefield. If you do so, set those units up again anywhere on the battlefield more than 9 inches away from enemy units. And you can't move after you've done that.
Yeah.
That's so much easier.
Yeah, it's still good. It's not as good as it was. However, it was just a negative play experience before for everyone that faced it.
Yeah.
I mean, no one enjoyed playing against Change Host.
I've come across it once.
Yeah. I've never had to play it because luckily I tend to not go that high in the tables. But I've seen it. I've watched it on streams. I've seen what it does, and it's horrible.
Yeah.
So this, like I say, this is good. You can still throw your units around. You can grab objectives with them. You can take 2 big units of horrors, turn 1, throw them both forward and put them on 2 objectives.
Yeah.
Your opponent's now got to deal with that on objectives.
And of course, if you take the battalion where the post where you can't retreat from them, and then like I said, the horrors now become massive tar pits.
Yeah.
So pretty decent. And then there was one which I think for the acolytes and stuff, you said the Zangor Coven was the probably better one.
Well, it's quite nice. It's got 2 units of Zangor, 2 units of Enlightened, and 2 units of Skyfires. Oh, wait a minute. Zangor Enlightened aren't bolded, so that must be foot Zangor you have to take.
Right.
Or that's yeah, because the one above it says 2 units of Zangor Light on disc. So yeah, actually, yeah, no, that one's not as good then, because you've got to take the foot Enlightened. I mean, yeah, okay, you can shoot or fight in the hero phase, but no, I think you still want the foot Enlightened, the disc Enlightened. So
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's not as good as we
reading that. That's not. It's not as good as I thought, unless the changes to be bolded and it's a misprint. But as of right now,
yeah, because I mean up there, Magister is bolded, so obviously that can be any variation of it.
Mm-hmm. But the fact that it specifically states, and the one above it you can take the Enlightened on discs, makes me think this is a way to try and get foot Enlightened onto the table.
Absolutely, absolutely. So War Scrolls, we've had a look through, and I don't think there's any massive changes besides the horrors. There's very subtle changes to improve some things, I think.
Yeah. Horrors is definitely the big change, and it's a huge change.
Oh, absolutely. Would you say it's as big as Plague Monks?
Yeah, I mean... Well, we'll get to it, but we've taken 3 War Scrolls into 1.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll get there shortly, but a lot of change, nothing... I can see that either of us can see has changed. Did they have a 4+ save before?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Yeah. So 14 wounds. They're as survivable as any other greater demon, but they're a bit more costly because of the spells and everything.
No mortal wound shrug or anything like that either on them, is there?
Nope.
No. So they are still a bit fragile.
However, the Lord of Change's command ability gives you +1 to cast. Oh no, Guess what you can stack that with, Grant?
Oh, I wonder.
So you could, because they're technically 2 separate command abilities, you can use that with the other one. And oh look, I'm already taking 3 Lord of Change anyway.
Well, you're probably taking 2 and summoning 2. Why pay the points when you're going to get it by turn 2 anyway? I mean...
Yeah. But that's an easy way to get +2 to cast.
Yeah.
Fate Weaver. His ability, Oracle of Eternity, is still once per battle.
Mm-hmm.
But he can cast and unbind 3 spells now.
Yeah.
Which, let's face it, he should have, shouldn't he?
Yeah, he always should have had more. I mean, I wouldn't be against if the Lord of Change had gotten 3 as well. But I guess at that point he would rebalance all the summoning quite heavily, because you're just going to get it in no time. But yeah, I think Kairos is probably a really good shout now.
For the extra 20 points,
yeah,
it's worth it for the 3rd cast.
Yeah, definitely.
So
especially if you're not taking a battalion, so you're not going to get use of an extra artifact on an extra Lord of Change, then you might as well take Kairos as one of your 2 Lords of Change. I think you're probably going to want 2 Lords of Change if you're going like a demon heavy build.
Yeah. He's also not locked to a specific host either.
No, which is handy.
Very. Very. Gaunt Summoner, nothing changed there I could see with Gaunt Summoner, did it?
No, we both had a look through, and unless we're missing something, the only thing that changed is there's now no disc option.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he has to be on foot, and he's gone up dramatically.
Yeah, massively. I don't know whether that's a misprinting will change it, or...
I mean, the summoning still once per battle, the blade's still the same, still 2 different spells, and Infernal Flames is still the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not...
No. All of the Heralds basically got proper names now, so Fate Skimmer is a Herald on a Burning Chariot, which dropped massively to 140 points, but again, nothing that we can see is changed with any of the Heralds. You've got Fluxmaster, which is a Herald on disc. and you've got the Change Caster, which is just the Herald on foot. Again, within them, nothing's really changed apart from minor point adjustments. The Changeling. I don't think we looked at his War Scroll, did we?
I don't think so. I'll bring up his old one. It was the Curseling we did look at, and he's gotten a nice...
Yeah. So, where's the Changeling? How many points was he? He was 180. He's dropped to 120.
Oh, big drop.
Yeah. So 5 wounds, 3 attacks, 3s, -1, and D3.
I only had 1 attack before.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Special abilities, we've got Puckish Misdirection. Arch Deceiver.
Yep.
And then Magic, and he can attempt to cast and unbind 2.
Oh, he's only 1.
Oh, so he's gone down in points, but he got better.
Although he seems to have lost Formless Horror.
Right. And
which
what
used
did
to
that
be,
do?
he can pick a melee weapon wielded by the enemy within 3 inch, and then he could make that his Trickster's Staff.
Right. But then he trades it off for 3 attacks, though, instead.
Yeah,
so...
they've improved his attacks.
Yeah. In addition, whilst this model is within 9 of an enemy wizard, it knows all spells on the wizard's War Scroll.
Oh, that's new.
Is it? Fair enough. Yeah, so he doesn't have a specific spell himself. He's only got Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield, and then, of course, 1 from the Law of Change. But then it says that, in addition, while the model is within 9 inches of an enemy wizard, it knows any spells on that wizard's War Scroll.
Oh, no, sorry, it does have that. It's just listed under the magic, but it's really not obvious, actually. It's not listed as an ability, it's just under the bit that says magic, where you get your casts and unbinds. So, yeah, I missed that, but yeah, so that's the same.
Yeah. The Blue Scribes went down to 120, but I don't think there was any massive change on there. Screamers, I think, are still the same. 3 attacks, 4s, 3s, no rend, 1 damage. But if you charge, you get to do D3. Damage.
Oh, they get to do D3 on the charge?
Yes.
So here it is D3s against monsters.
Sorry, yeah, my bad, it is monsters.
Okay. So if they were D3 on the charge, then...
Yeah. But then, of course, there was ways to improve that with one of them hosts as well. So if you like your Screamers, certainly worth going for. The Exalted Flamers and the Flamers, I don't think changed much. In fact, hang on, did the Exalted Flamers have rend before? Did the Flamers have rend?
No.
Right, yeah. The Exalted Flamers now got -1 standard, and the Flamers
so now he's -2 in that post.
Yep, and it's D3.
Well, I'm force 3s, no rend. Well, 1 rend D3.
Yeah, which would then become 2 rend in that host as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's... Flamers are going to be horrible. And range 18, of course, summon them in and just go... There you go.
But even your normal Flamers have 3 attacks each, 4s and 3s in that host -1, then D3, like...
Yeah. And then, of course, you get bonuses to hit if the target has more than 10 or 20 models. Is that new? Capricious Warp Flame.
So Capricious Warp Flame is at the end of the shooting phase, on a 4 or more, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds.
No, so it's changed. So, add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by this unit if the target unit has 10 or more models. Add 2 to the hit rolls instead if the target unit has 20 or more models.
That is just horde clearing at its finest.
Especially with the Exalted Flamer, if you make him -2. Wow,
yeah.
That's brutal.
And 6 attacks. I'm assuming he's still got 6 attacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've got Touched by Fire. So if you take a mortal wound, if you take a wound in melee, you roll a dice, and on a 5+, the attacking unit suffers a mortal wound.
Okay, no, that's gone.
Oh, God.
That's not a thing.
Guided by Billowing Flames as well on the normal Flamers. Add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made with this unit's Warp Flame while it is wholly within 9 of any friendly Exalted Flamers.
Yeah, so you're going to want to have Exalted Flamers with them.
that means you're going to get a natural +1 for being within range, but you're going to be a +3 against a unit of 20 or more models. That's wow.
Oh,
wow.
I need to go buy some flamers before they sell out.
And then, of course,
have they still got the locus of transmogrification?
No.
Okay, so they used to be able to, if a unit was slain within 9 inch of a Tzeentch demon hero on a 6, you could add 2 models back to the unit.
Right, no.
But they're now much more deadly.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So the next war scroll we've got is Horrors.
Yeah.
Would you like to take this?
Well, we can certainly try. I mean, it's...
I'll point out as well that the icon bearer still replenishes models on the roll of a battle shock test of a 1, and the hornblower still forces your opponent to re-roll 1s.
Yeah.
So they're the same, and is there a leader?
Yeah, the iridescent horror, which is +1 to the melee attacks.
Yeah.
So you've got a 6-up shrug, which I can't remember if they had or not in the past.
That's ectoplasmic elasticity.
Yeah. And then +1 to hit rolls, there's a flickering flames, +1 to hit rolls for attacks made with this unit's magical flames, while the unit has 20 or more models. I have a funny feeling they probably had that before.
Right.
But the main one is split and split again.
Yeah.
So they've completely reworked how horror summoning works. It's now much more thematic, and I think a lot better. So now, when you allocate a wound or mortal wound to the units, it's got to go on the pink horrors first, and that's a key part. Because each time a pink horror or the iridescent horror dies, you can summon 2 blue horrors, and you've got to place them on the table. So if you can't physically fit them in, obviously, you can't place them, and you've got to do them as each one dies. So you can't.
Yeah.
Rules is written, you can't remove 5 and then place your 1, and you have to remove 1, place 2, remove 1, place 2, so that you're using up the space as it becomes available. And then if 2 blues die, you can get 2 brimstones. But you have to clear all the pinks first.
Yeah.
So it's super strong. You're going to tie people up. But again, if you surround the unit, they're not going to be able to put much more down than they already had.
No, you've got to surround the unit to get rid of them.
The way that we've read it, we think the damage carries on.
Yeah, so for example, if you've got a unit of 10 horrors, right, and you do 15 wounds, right, you'd remove your pink horrors one at a time, obviously replace them with blues until all the damage has been inflicted on all the pink ones first, then you would continue the last 5 wounds onto the blues.
Yep, and replacing them with brimstones.
I suspect that will get FAQ'd because I expect the amount of people that will argue, well, there's not pink horrors left to allocate the wounds to.
Well, my argument with that is you're attacking the unit, and the unit is Horrors of Tzeentch. It's not a pink horror unit that becomes a blue horror unit.
I agree.
The unit is the Horrors of Tzeentch, and the fact it says as soon as one's slain, you put the next ones down.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be clearer. And I think it does need to be FAQ'd. But if it's not that, if it's a case of as soon as you kill all the pinks that were there to begin with, the damage is lost, then the unit is broken. So
I think it is
really
worded,
can't be that. It's got to be the damage carries on.
It's worded reasonably clear. It's just people will abuse it.
Yeah.
People will abuse it. Yeah. So massive change.
Plus 1 for casting for them within wholly 12 inches of a demon hero as well. So that's another
and then of
chance
course
to get good spells off.
You've got Petty Vengeance as well. If a pink horror model from this unit is slain and you do not use it, split and split again, you can pick one enemy unit within 1 inch of this unit and roll a dice, and on a 5+, the enemy unit suffers a mortal wound. I know the blue horrors had that before. I don't know if the pink ones did.
I think the pinks did, but I think it was maybe on a 6+ before. I think they have slightly improved it, because now only pink horrors can take Petty Vengeance.
Right, yeah.
So blues and brimstones can't.
Right, okay. You've also then got Channel and Pink Fire, so you can get +1 to hit for your horror unit. And of course, if you've got 20 or more models, that suddenly makes your magical flames hitting on 3s.
Yeah.
And your combat attacks hitting on 3s as well.
And they are now maxed at 20 as well, aren't they? I can't remember if they were maxed at 20 before, but it's a funny feeling I read that. Horrors
Horrors of Tzeentch, where are we at?
Right at the top.
Yeah, max of 20. That's a bit silly.
I guess it's just to stop the summoning getting out of hand. I think potentially it's a way to just control that.
So why not say 15 models?
Yeah. Well, I guess you have to remember that technically a unit can be any size because of narrative play. It's just the match play is obviously a thing.
Yeah.
You'll get it because if you have 20 pinks, you'll then get 40 blues.
Oh yes.
So you would get the +1 then.
Ah, fair enough.
So you actually get a little bit better as you die as well.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, absolutely. Magister on Disc of Tzeentch. This is the new guy.
Yes.
So this wasn't an option previously, was it?
No, completely new.
So, of course, being on a disc, he's got 16-inch movement, a 5+ save, and 6 wounds. He's got a Tzeentchian rune staff, which is 1 attack. And, of course, he's got the Warp Steel sword, which is 1 attack. And then, of course, you've got the teeth and horns from the disc as standard. But his ability, if the casting roll for this model is a double and the casting attempt is successful and not unbound, this model can attempt to cast 1 extra spell this turn. If it does so, the extra casting roll is a double, the spell automatically fails and this model is slain.
Okay, so you used to be able to double and cast, but there wasn't the slain rule. Well, on the non-disc Magister. I'm just kind of assuming they're the same, but with a disc.
Yeah. If the friendly Magister is slain by this effect, roll a dice before removing from the battlefield, and on a 2+, put a Chaos Spawn down.
Excellent.
So at least you get your spawn. Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing we've seen is Games Workshop are really trying to sell those spawn kits.
Yeah, I mean, they're even pushing them in Conquest because that's going to come. I think that's in my next delivery as well. So
okay.
So yeah, and then of course you've got Bolt of Change for his spell. He can attempt to cast 1 and unbind 1. So he's okay. He's a cool model.
Yeah.
He's a cool model. You've got the Magister on foot, which is basically the same, just obviously less attacks, less movement, and 1 less wound.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got the Curseling.
Yeah, I like this guy.
So, previously he had Vessel of Chaos. If this model successfully unbinds a spell that is possible for it to cast, a spell that is possible for it to cast.
Yeah, so I mean, like, certain spells can only be cast by certain...
Oh, right, so basically it has to be Arcane Bolt or Mystic Shield.
No, not necessarily. Would it... What's the wording?
If this model successfully unbinds a spell that is possible for it to cast, it can immediately attempt to cast that spell. So it's Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield, and then if you're going against another Tzeentch army, Glean Magic and whichever one he can cast. So it's only against those spells.
So I can understand it not allowing me to do endless spells, which is what I assume the intent of that is.
Yeah, it can only... If the model successfully unbinds a spell that is possible for it to cast. So he has to be able to cast it. That's a little bit odd. But I think it's to go in line with the fact I think Nagash and Arkan can cast Mystic Shield and Arcane Bolt a number of times.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what they're trying
to do. There is that.
But he added the rule, Disruptor of the Arcane, you can re-roll unbinding and dispelling rolls for this model.
Yeah, which I like.
So obviously
That's why I like him. I like that he's a great anti-magic. Maybe not so much as we thought originally because you can't throw everything back, but...
No. But it's the fact that you can re-roll the unbinding roll anywhere. But then if you unbind Arcane Bolt or Mystic Shield, then
you can just chuck it somewhere else.
Cast it. So if you stop someone's Mystic Shield and then you cast it back at someone, you protected one of your units.
Or if you cast, well then that would follow with any. If you have the model for the endless spells, any non-faction endless spells you could cast as well. Then if you unbound them, not if you dispelled them, but if you unbound them in their initial cast. Could argue that
wouldn't have to be in your army though to be able to cast them.
He can possibly cast it. There's no keyword stopping him from casting them.
Yeah, that one needs clearing up, definitely. I think he's still very good anti-magic, but it definitely needs clearing up. Definitely. After that, we've got the Eyes of the Nine and Vortimus the All-Seeing, which are I believe they're the characters from Beastgrave and stuff. Yeah,
they came out with the first round, but yeah, they're the Underworld's warband.
Yep. We've got Ogroid Thermitage, which was from Warhammer Quest, and Fate Master. Kyric Acolytes did change.
Yep.
So the paired cursed blades let you re-roll failed hits. Re-roll hit rolls, not failed hit rolls. Which is pretty good.
What save have they got?
5+.
Yeah, they're a 6+. I thought it said a 5. So yeah, they've got a extra save as well now.
Right, fantastic. And of course you've got a 6-up ignore damage.
Yep.
And you said that there weren't wizards before.
Nope, they weren't wizards.
They can cast now. Yep, so whilst it has 9 or more models, it can attempt to cast one spell in your hero phase and unbind one. It knows Gestalt Sorcery. It cannot attempt to cast any other spells. But any number of Kyric Acolytes can attempt to cast it. So it's like the one from the Herald of Slanesh, and like the one that Evocators and stuff can do as well.
Because that actually used to be an ability they had, the Gestalt Sorcery, if they were within 9 inch of a friendly Tzeentch wizard.
Right. So now they can cast it on themselves.
Yeah.
Right, fair enough. But yeah, it improves the Rend by 1, so obviously if you reroll it...
that's what it is. It used to add +1 to hit.
Right.
So yeah.
But the fact that you're rerolling all hits anyway for paired cursed blades now...
Exactly, yeah.
I think it makes it a little bit better.
Yeah. I mean, again, Rend is always good. I mean, all these little chip damage attacks that you can get from Tzeentch. You know, your Acolytes throwing out these Sorcerer's Bolts. -1 Rend, you're still going to chip things away.
Yep, absolutely. Skyfires didn't change. I think we went over them.
Yeah, and I still don't know why they're more expensive than Enlightened.
I think they went up, didn't they? Skyfires. No, they're still 200.
Yeah.
Enlightened on discs, though, are now 180 points.
Yeah,
so
which is fine. They needed to go 20.
Up. Yeah, absolutely. Zangor Enlightened on foot as well. Yeah.
Yeah, they're an option, and maybe there is a reason to take them, but it's not even just the damage. It's the fact you got 16-inch movement on the Enlightened. They're just so fast.
And D3 extra attacks per model.
And extra wounds.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that I can understand why they've now put the Enlightened on discs up.
Oh yeah, they needed to go up. Like, they definitely need to go. What I like about this book in particular for Zangor is everyone used to be a case of you pretty much run your Zangor in beasts. Mm-hmm. I think now with everything that the Tzeentch can do, you can run your Zangor as Tzeentch and still be really strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that is almost it, but 2 seconds. The only thing we've got left to cover is the endless spells.
Yeah.
So the Burning Sigil of Tzeentch, I thought this is okay, but it's too random.
Yeah, I think that's the case with a lot. Then the spells just haven't clicked with me for Tzeentch this time around.
No. So the Burning Sigil, you put it down at the end of your movement phase, roll a dice. At the end of your movement phase, roll a dice. Pick one on a 1, pick one enemy unit within 12 of this model and visible. That unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. If any models were slain by this spell before removing the first slain model, you can add a Chaos Spawn to your army. Mm-hmm. If you roll a 2, crippling appendages, pick one unit within 12 of this model and visible to it. Half the move characteristic of that unit until the start of your next hero phase. Bearing in mind it says pick one unit, not enemy unit. So if you've got no enemy units within range, you've got to pick one of your own.
Yeah.
So 3 or 4 is Mutated Flux. Pick one unit within 12 and visible to it. This unit can move D6 extra even if it ran in the same turn. 5 Spawning Limbs. Pick one unit within 12 of this model. Add 1 to the attack characteristics of that unit's melee weapons.
And can you Destiny dice this?
I don't know. Let's have a look.
Since there is a specific list of things that you can.
Casting rolls, unbinding rolls, dispelling rolls, run rolls, charge rolls, hit rolls, wound rolls, save rolls, any roll that determines the damage characteristic of a weapon, and battle shock tests, so no.
No.
It's too unreliable.
Yeah, if you could Destiny dice it, it would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, because then if you roll a 6, subtract 1 from hit rolls as well.
Yeah. Or +1 attacks, if you have a 5, like that's... But yeah, otherwise it's just... Because like you say, you maybe go to an enemy unit and give them +1 attack. So it's... Which is Tzeentch, it is treacherous, but...
And then the one that's being shown on the community page is the Tourm of Eyes. It's a casting value of 5, and you've got to set it up within an inch of the caster, and they then treat it as one model. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it then gives you the ability to cast an additional spell. So you can only cast this spell whilst you've got the Tourm of Eyes attached to you, basically. And it's called the Parchment Curse. It's got a casting value of 8, and only the caster of the Tourm of Eyes can attempt to cast this spell. If successfully cast, pick one enemy unit within 18 of the caster that is visible, and on a 3+, they suffer D3 mortal wounds. In addition, for each model that is slain by mortal wounds inflicted by this spell, subtract 1 from bravery characteristics of that unit for the rest of the battle.
Mm-hmm.
That is massive against death units.
Yeah.
Because
not so much Bone Reapers, but
no.
Everyone else, there's...
But I mean, still, it modifies the bravery characteristic, so...
Yeah.
Only because it's fresh in my head... Flesh Eaters, the Scream from the Terrorgeist and the Flares, because it modifies the bravery characteristic,
they would be more effective.
It would be more effective. That whole argument's irrelevant because we're talking about Tzeentch.
Well, no, if you play some Triumph and Treachery games or something like that, you can try and get the Tzeentch guy to help you out.
Yeah.
Always. There's also if it's unmodified if you roll a 2 or a 12 to cast the spell, it goes off and it can't be stopped.
Yeah, it's any spell whilst you have
any spell while he's got but you take D3 mortal wounds.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty good. The last spell is the demonic simulacrum. I can't even say that hardly. Casting value of 7. Set it up wholly within 12, and you can move it straight away. After this model is moved, roll 9 dice for the closest other unit within 6, and for each 5+, that unit suffers a mortal wound. If the unit is a wizard, they suffer mortal wounds on a 4+.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
I think the problem with that is if that gets used against you, most of your army is wizard.
Yeah.
So it's going to turn on you quite badly.
Yes, and especially obviously if your opponent's getting to move it, if you opt to go first, yeah. So, as a summary, Grant, obviously, like I said, you play a lot more Sigmar against other people and stuff. Where do you think this book stands? I don't think it's strong, but I don't think it's without seeing it in action, I don't think it's quite as broken as what Slaanesh was.
I think we'll need to see how the horrors play out. I think that's going to be the big thing, to see how it actually plays on the table and how the splitting works and how that affects everything. Mm-hmm. But I think it's definitely better than where they were.
Oh,
with the
absolutely.
exception of probably the change host. But that was always going to go. And if people are complaining they can't play their change host anymore, I don't really have much sympathy for them. I'm sorry to say. I think what the book does open up a lot more builds for Tzeentch, which is great. I mean, like the acolytes are fantastic models, and you don't really see them that much. And there's definitely ways to play them in this.
Yeah.
Very excited for Flamers. That definitely looks like a fun build.
Yeah, I think a Flamer Screamer build would be quite good.
Yeah. And Zangor have always been good. And I think now, if you have a Zangor army from your Beasts of Chaos or anything like that, you can definitely go out, buy this book, and you've now got 2 armies. They're going to play differently, because the way you summon and everything's differently. You're a lot more magic reliant in the Disciples of Tzeentch book. And the Zangor are great models. So, I mean...
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I think it's in that good level of power. It's not someone that... You're going to have a good fun game with them. I feel you're going to probably dominate the magic phase, as Tzeentch should.
Yeah.
You can just force your opponent to be really cagey with their unbinds. Most people only have 2 or 3. You're going to have a lot more than that.
Absolutely. So
yeah.
That's the Disciples of Tzeentch Battletome. Of course, thank you very much for Grant for joining me to review it, and of course a massive shout out to Games Workshop for sending this early for us to preview. I'm quite excited to see some action. Stay tuned. Make sure you go and check out the rest of the channel, because we've also got a review up of the new Caradhran Overlords Battletome as well. So see you next time.